Standeford. Welcome to Learn to Write in Trump's World. I presume you've went through some of the earlier ones. This is going to be pretty much the same. We're using the world of Trump to set as a backdrop for a story. It's easy to pull these characters and settings and all the scenes and everything if you draw from a real story, especially a story which has so much emotional appeal to it, so much mood in the setting. And I find this world well, Trump has practically made it. He started out by trying to make America great. He got everybody saying it, and then he disappeared. And now we got a bunch of people out there trying to make America great. We got a bunch of Donald Trumps with the Donald Trump anointing on them, going out and making America great. A lot of us thought he would do it himself, but I think it was meant by God for all of us to learn about this new world, and that's why God sent us somebody that would take on this giant of socialism. Anyway, I'm going to start right in instead of going back over, except for I'll show you we are using the Novel Factory program, and it gets you started in writing synopses, which we went through already, and characters. You can put pictures of your characters in here and write about them. I haven't filled this stuff out like I should have. I tend to wing it a lot. Locations. You can put information about your settings here, and then the scenes comes in really handy. You can put in different types of scenes or plot points or stuff like that, and then it's got other things. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. In our novel so far, I have tried to stay as close to the real story as I know it. I may be way off, and I'm sure that I have got a lot of stuff way off, but I will probably end up changing the names of this thing and making it a novel, fiction. But it's possible I could make a biography of it, but I don't know if I know enough about the situation. I'm not there. It takes a lot of study, unless you're going to, do what CNN people do and just write a trash novel about Trump and talk about a biography and talk about how terrible he is, and then you can get your money on the book market. But I don't do those hack jobs. Anyway, I'm going off of the self-directed warfare, Know Thy Enemy. What I did was I just sort of, I know Donald Trump, The Art of War is one of his favorite books, and I got a couple of books on The Art of War and all that. And I know Donald Trump wrote The Art of the Deal, which is pretty similar to The Art of the War. One main rule of The Art of War is to know thy enemy. Know your enemy. Was it Su Young who said the general who knows his enemy will win half the battles, and he who knows his enemy and himself will win all the battles? Well, Donald Trump would have been well aware of that, and the Army intelligence also would have been well aware of that. They needed to find out more about the enemy. So Donald Trump's first term as President of the United States embodied that statement, know your enemy. In that 4 years, he had tested all the people on his list that the military had not been able to thoroughly vet. He had waded into the cold water and the green slime of the swamp, and not only survived, but took note of what woke reptiles, fish, and birds or mammals lived in that dark depths of hatred. Who in the swamp pretended to ally with the patriots while really using them and then stabbing them in the back? Who was woke? Who was awake? Who proved themselves liars, traitors, treasonous, or just too timid to go against the weight of the swamp? Too scared to stand up for what they believed in? In addition to knowing who his friends or enemies would be, what obstacles or forces and influences would be pushed against him to stop him, he needed to know what was going on behind the scenes. Who were the power brokers of this woke system? Who were the real players pulling the strings of these politicians? Who had so many Americans, if you wanted to call them Americans, on the hook for bribery, blackmail, or threats? The game board was to Trump an important part of reconnaissance. He grew to know the board very thoroughly, and the methods, the means, and the strategies of the players he must play. He had to play more games than one. Donald Trump played many games as the genius chess master walks from board to board while playing 50 to 100 opponents or more. God did say through his prophet Kim Clement that this president, his David, would be a genius. Donald Trump got to know the board and the methods of those he later would be facing for the endgame. They unfortunately thought that they were playing chess when they were only playing checkers. Donald Trump opened up with a very defensive king's gambit. Slowly, patiently, defensively, instead of a straight-out blitzkrieg, offensive, forceful opening, Donald Trump moved his pieces into place. He drew in his opponents by being passive and giving up pawns. He made his opponents believe they had total control with their outrageous, ill-thought-out, and ill-timed aggressive offenses. Trump memorized the board. He grew to know the strategy of each of the many players he faced one by one. He realized that though they were vicious and very aggressive, and though they knew about every trick or con or routine in the book, his opponents had little imagination. Trump moved the pieces on the board. He worked as the magician works. He kept their attention on those supposedly turning on him and being disloyal to him. Meanwhile, he used the distraction to move the pieces into place in his king's gambit. Sacrifices. While the press doted on Barr for refusing to investigate fraud in the election, Trump had Barr slide Durham into position. Barr promoted Durham from his limited powers as a Connecticut prosecutor to special prosecutor, where he had power over the whole country. He could now not only prosecute, but arrest people countrywide. And what did the woke press have to say about it, the mainstream quote-unquote journalists? Oh, they said that Durham quit. Well, they were right. He quit his Connecticut position to take the nationwide special investigator position, but, you know, fake news. Trump drew fire from their accusations, which were really what they should have been accused of themselves, since the leftist communists always accuse others of what they themselves were really doing. Part of the big lie, I guess, a phrase that was invented by Hitler. They aren't very original. The Dems did not realize their accusations would come back to haunt them one day. Their minds worked simplicity. It was easy to see what these traitors were up to. After all, they spoke out at their own crimes with each accusation they made against Trump and those he knew and loved. His son, his wife, daughters, even his underage son, they didn't leave alone. People like Schumer, Pelosi, Schiff, to name a few, came at the president aggressively. However, they came at him with much energy but little tact. They also lacked the discipline of playing move by move. They ran their pieces rampant over the board, trying to chase down the king. The king was well insulated by his knights and bishops and pawns and rooks. He took the attack and actually used this random activity, this useless, aggressive stumbling around of his opponents, as a chance to maneuver his key pieces into position. By stealth, Trump dominated the board. However, he did not run after the enemy too soon. Each game he played, walking one player to the next and on to the others. His mind worked within that one game at that one moment. He had a mind for this thing. He had a knack for this thing. He had a yearning for the battle. Okay. He had, whoops. He had a mind for this thing. He had a knack for this thing. He had a great desire for the heat of battle. He was a general. He was a soldier at heart. I guess I'll say that. By stealth, Trump dominated the board. However, he did not run after the enemy too soon. Each game he played, walking one player to the next, and on to the others one at a time. His mind worked within each game at that one moment. He had a mind for this thing. He had a knack for this thing. He had a great desire for the heat of the battle. He was a soldier at heart. Since he did not make many moves, even into the middle game, his opponents underestimated him to their own detriment. They were fools who, though just because the press reported them to be geniuses, that they did not have to try hard to win. But because they were fooled by the press, they did not have to put full force into beating Donald Trump. Oh, they were wrong. They listened to their own press too much. At the end of 4 years, as President of the United States, Trump had each chess match over 100 boards against over 100 sly politicians set up and passed the opening on to the middle game. The middle game that would be played from behind the scenes. When Trump arose from his shadow position, then he would have finished the middle game and would be ready to take on all these challenging games at once, stepping from board to board, player to player. In the end game to end all games. Now the deep state, they were playing checkers. Trump was playing chess. He had maneuvered his pieces into position for a quick checkmate in each game. The woken mob of billionaires, elite press, and woken politicians had gone stumbling after him, taking every rabbit hole that stood in their way. They had chased all red herrings. They had tried to kill the king from the first move on. Mistake. Big mistake. And each time they went after the king directly with no plan or strategy or tact, they wasted a chance to gain in position for the long game. It's like a boxer that goes after their opponent. It's similar to when a boxer goes directly at their opponent to knock them out. If they fail after a few tries, they find that not having a plan has worn them out and they've wasted too much time, points, and energy to win. The deep state was too vast, broken up, and too greedy to work simultaneous with their allies. They trusted no one, not even each other. So when they saw a chance to strike, they did not have the wisdom of a carp or a catfish has when it strikes a worm on the hook. Bottom feeders in the swamp, every one of them, each thought of themselves the more powerful, yet power was beyond any of them. To sell a country to its enemies is easy, yet they thought they had genius for the betrayal of their own kind. To sentence millions to slavery and early graves, even those that they had vowed to protect and serve, meant nothing to them. President Donald J. Trump kept his advantage in every game he had started. A shadow president, as a shadow politician, with a force of 60,000 soldiers and spies on his side. Behind the scenes, the middle game went into action. The stunned swamp creatures had no idea of strategy. They just kept swinging at the king, hoping for a lucky hit that would put Trump down, drop him into the green slime of their swamp, and then attack him with teeth from all sides. What I'm talking about here with the 60,000 soldiers, Newsweek spent the last 2 years trying to find out something about what the Pentagon was doing, and they used, this is a true story, they used, I reported on this in one of my podcasts, they used the Freedom of Information Act to find out what the heck the Pentagon was doing, and they found out that the Pentagon had a force of 60,000 soldiers that they put together about 10 years ago, right about the time that the military started, noticing that Obama was starting to do some strange stuff. And this 60,000 force, they didn't get their money from Congress. They are self-sufficient. They run businesses. That's part of their cover. And they use the money from these businesses they run to fund this 60,000 soldier army. And they probably get some money from what they can get out, but they aren't beholden to Congress, and I think that's the main thing about it. So I believe that what this is a replacement for the FBI, CIA, and the other three-letter agencies. It is not a real big force, but I think they also have control probably of other soldiers that are loyal, and they can probably at least triple their force. And with the National Guard, knows what. I have heard that they did deputize 2,000 National Guard guardsmen back when they were in Washington, D.C. guarding Nancy, and a lot of people thought that they did that so that they could arrest some people. But I think, upon further reflection on it, I think that they were deputized and made marshals, which their job is to escort prisoners to Guantanamo, I guess. And the only reason that they would have been deputized as marshals would be for that. But I have also heard that pretty good theory that it will be National Guard troops who will in their own states clean their own states up. So I could see them getting deputized and then going back. Anyway, so that 60,000 is a real force, according to Newsweek, who spent 2 years digging it out. And of course, Newsweek thinks it's a terrible thing that we've got this force that spies on people and all this. And I think they just they have an idea of this is Trump's little army here. I've mentioned it in my article. I had somebody say, "Well, yeah, I knew about this for decades." Well, it's only a decade old. They just started it, and I think it's to clean up this country. The stunned swamp creatures had no idea of strategy. They just kept swinging at the king, hoping for a lucky hit that would put Trump down, drop him into that green slime of the swamp, and then attack him with teeth from all sides. Joe Biden played at being president, shutting down the nation's resources, stealing jobs from good people, and loosening restrictions on Russia and China and Iran while tightening his grip on the throats of Americans. He opened up the borders and weaponized them for his purposes while hurting thousands of men, women, children, and millions of Americans. He shut down pipelines to draw prices upward. Nancy Pelosi shoved outrageous bills at the Senate that would threaten any crazy senator. Strategy is lost on the woken. They know routines and can repeat them over and over with skill, but to enact a new imaginative strategy is beyond them. So Donald Trump found himself in each game he was playing, each challenge he was up against, in great position, just a few moves from checkmate in each game. The swamp creatures have played in dumb, aggressive chases. They have backed themselves into too many corners. They have wasted moves when they could have gained position. They had taken pieces from off the board and laughed at Trump as they counted their pieces and compared them to the lesser pieces Trump had taken from them. But they were playing by points. Strategy was beyond them. They counted the pieces as if they were playing checkers. All the while Trump convinced them that he was too. Trump played strategic games of chess while he pretended to play checkers. Strategy has many ups and downs in it. It doesn't play the same game each move. Unlike checkers, the strategies in chess use each move from the very start to position the pieces on the board in the best way possible for the battle, and then eventually the end game. Those too foolish to understand this are dumb animals running from hunter with a gun. Chess is attack, feign, overwhelming forward motion, retraction, leaving pieces in position as if done accidentally. Dodge, look strong when you're weak, look weak when you're strong. Let your opponent seem to place your pieces for you as you react to his or her attacks. Meanwhile, all is going according to your plan. Overwhelm your opponent until they feel pinned against the wall, then underwhelm him and make him think he's in charge. There is an overall plan. Has to be if you intend to win. The opening, king or queen's defensive gambits, the slow method of passive-aggressive attack. Move pieces into position, fight the battle hard, end with a flourish. Okay, now we'll talk about Earth, danger and security from the 33 Laws of War, or Art of War. Earth, danger and security, open ground and narrow ground, the chances of life and death, danger and security. So these are all Earth. Earth is danger and security, open ground and narrow ground, the chances of life and death, danger and security, I already said. Alright, Donald Trump thinks, I might lose money off this presidential thing. They will hit me hard. I won't be in control of handling my own finances. They will tear my life up looking for false sins or crimes. They will accuse me of crimes I have never committed when they find nothing. They will never give up. Their persistence may be their only strength. In the end, it will lead to their downfall, though. Any acquaintance in my life will be turned upside down, ripped up, displayed for the world to see. These are hardened criminals, sociopaths, and the craftiest snakes in the garden of politics. They know all the tricks. I can't say that they are the most creative or imaginative bunch. I could beat them by playing a different game that they're not sophisticated enough to know. I could lose, yes. They are many, and I am one person. I would have the military on my side, of course. Most of them, anyway, I think. Still, I would never know whom I could trust for certain. It would certainly be easier to just sit in the sun, travel, enjoy my family, raise my son. I could enjoy evenings relaxing, ease my kids into the family business, deal with people I know and trust, and push the idiots far away from me. Well, anyway. And the few I must fight, easy enough to beat. Why be a hero? Why put my neck out on the chopping block for people who wouldn't hesitate to lop my head off? It seems so foolish to enter into that pack of worm-filled, poisonous, fanged, frothing mouth pack. They are an insane bunch that cares only for power. Nothing but power. Most of these politicians have gone off the edge, and they'll say it's me that has gone off the deep end. They'll say it's me who wants nothing but power, to be a dictator, to take over this country and rule. But how can I not take up this challenge? I was made for it. They live to choke out the lives of the American people. They want to destroy those they vowed to serve. They betray each other as easily as they roll over in bed at night when they're asleep. They have no honor. No honor among thieves. If so, how much more will they do to me? Okay, I'm going to end it there. I'm trying to figure out how long these things should be, so if anybody has any remarks on that, please leave a note for me. I try to read what's going on. So I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going over to the no, what am I doing? What am I doing? Cut that out. Oh, I'm going over to here. And I'm going to start a new scene here. And I'm going to put it on the first draft. This could go on different places besides the first draft. Checkers versus chess strategy. Alright, now I'm going to save that. I think maybe I don't know, make it a chapter head. Just a untitled chapter. Okay, he's thinking about going in to become president, so it's going to have to go in Act 1. Let's see. We can make this chapter 2. I wonder if it'll automatically alright, here. Let's go. We'll name this chapter 2. I suppose I'll have to name the other ones over again. Chapter 2. So what's going to happen to the other ones now? Chapter 2, Chapter 2. This will be Chapter 3 now. And I don't know if I have a Chapter 4. Chapter 3 is going to be Chapter 4. Let me see. Okay, and is there a chapter? Oh, that's another Chapter 3. Wow. Well, that'll be Chapter 5. Okay. There's no Chapter 4. What the heck? 3, 2, 3. Prologue. 1. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. And I think, yeah, that's 6. And let me go back to the first one, and we'll It's going to be chapter 1 still, but I'm going to use the number. Okay, I'm probably going to have to do some digging around in here. I got a prologue. Prologue, how many prologues do I have? About the woke and the weary and the saints. Donald Trump is not a person. Wow, that's, I don't know. I'm going to have to just redo all this stuff. We got some cleanup to do, I think. Okay. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to save it, as mixed up as it is. And then I'm going to go back and save this one, because I took that chunk out of it and I don't want that chunk to come back. And I'm going to end it there for now. Thank you for watching, and you have a great day.